All right, we live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is Oh So Ice, the young elder, right? And we forward again. And this is Ancient Technology Part 2, right? Okay, what do we leave off on the last deal? Subatomic particles, right? All right, so now that you understand subatomic particles, which is dealing around the quark, right? Now let's go into the part where they know nothing about, which is hyperatomic particles, right? You have hyperatomic particles, right? Which begins the other side of the mirror. See what I'm saying? These hyperatomic particles, if you Google hyperatomic particles, you'll come up with nothing, right? Because they haven't fathomed this information yet. This is new information from he who is the new himself, referred to as Amen. You hear what I'm telling you, man? So you can Google it, and you know what they're gonna give you? They're gonna tell you about subatomic particles. But as it is above, so is it below. Let me ask you scientists all over at Harvard and Yale and Princeton and all that, who goes to school for amount of years, study with all this equipment. Man, I feel like Pookie off of New Jack City. The guy's got all this equipment and don't know nothing. If there's subatomic particles, then there must be something that's standing opposed to sub. Up top, there's hyperatomic particles, which you know nothing about, which you call the pions. But if you Google hyperatomic particles, you'll come up with pions, which they have little information about. But you beings are familiar with the word pion, right? A pion means small, the smallest thing, right? The smallest thing, right? And as Artun Ray teaches us, the smallest things carry the most power, right? Or pack the most power, right? So these pions is the level of atoms that you get into once you vibrate faster than the quark. Then you got the hydrogen atom, then you break the hydrogen down into 3 parts, what they are calling subatomic particles. And like we told you, hydrogen is really -1 or -4, right? But as you speed up to the other side of the mirror, right, once you get faster than the quark, you go into pions, right, which is hyperatomic particles, which they can't even fathom, which is why they're going the other way on the element chart. Right? And they want to make fun of the peons, but there are more peons than there is anything. And what makes the peons so powerful is they stick together, right? And in the game of chess, you have what you call the pawn, right? Which is also referred to as the peon, right? And these peons are represented as the smallest piece in the game, but when they stick together, are the most powerful pieces in the game. So, in this life, there are more peons, right? And also in the game of chess, right? Which should tell you that your chess game is a little bit more sophisticated than what you're thinking. You have the piece which they call the bishop. And anybody you see coming with the bishop on front of their name must be watched closely. The bishop is responsible for keeping the pawns in check, keeping the peons in check by way of force, by way of fear. A lot of this stuff gonna go over y'all head, man. And the bishops answer to the Pope, which sit next to the queen, right? Which they're calling the king, is really the Pope, because he has a cross. If you look closer at the chess piece of the king, it has a cross on his head, letting you know that's the Pope. Right? And these bishops answer to the Pope to keep these pawns or these peons in check, right? And the queen, because in this life, the queen knows that one day, eventually, one of the pawns, if they stick together, could rise as queen. But long live the queen, though, if she knows her power lies within the pawns, as in the people. We don't like that word queen, though, because it refers to beings who get paid for sex act. Also, in the game of chess, you have what they call knight, as in Knights of Templar. And the knight are to achimetrically enforce the law of the Pope and the Queen, which is why they move in an L shape, as in the law And this L is what they're gonna take in the end for not going with the wind. So the pawn stands in representation of the peon, which there are many, and the peons move on 0, right? Which sits in the middle, which is why the strong point on the chessboard is the center square, the 0 squares, right? Which is where you tap into the ultimate source of energy. So when you talk about peons, you're talking about hyperatomic particles, because the peons move on the 0 point energy, right? Which is where all the energy is really coming from, because the process of energy being emitted from these atoms or molecules being transferred or converted happens in the middle, in the conversion. The energy is given off in the conversion of these atoms, right? In the midst, in the rest. That's why in music, 0 represents the rest, right? And in the rest is where you'll find the rest of it, the rest of what you need to make it work. So there's more energy found in rest than there is anywhere. Because when you go to sleep at night and rest, do you gain energy or do you lose energy? When you eat food, you gain energy, but do you gain more energy by sleeping or more energy by eating, right? So there's energy found within the rest, because the rest is where the peons exist, which are hyperatomic particles that recharge you every night when you go to sleep. Because where are you getting the energy? When you go to sleep, you think you're just going to sleep because your body's, no. You're getting energy called peons, right, that are recharging your body, because your body is a battery, right? They told you this. Your body was a battery, right? The body is a battery that produces 100 watts. Watch this, and it's in your rest state is where you're gaining the energy. Ask yourself this question. When you sleep, where are you gaining the energy from, right? If you are a battery, how are you recharging? You're being charged by ions, the first stage of ions, which move on the rest, called peons, which have an electric charge, right? Because ions are atoms which have electric charges. They are hyperatomic atoms, right? Which move parallel, right? You're tapping in to 0 point energy. Every time you go to sleep at night, you tap into 0 point energy. 8 hours of sleep, which is equivalent to eating 2,000 calories of food, right? So when you go to sleep, you are storing energy. You are gaining energy, right? From these electric charged ions, right? These small ions called peons, which move on the 0, right? 0 point energy, which you're tapping into every night when you go to sleep, right? Which is why you shouldn't eat before you go to sleep, right? Because if you eat before you go to sleep, your body is using energy to break down the food, right? And then converting that food into energy, which you're not using at the time because you're in the rest state, so it goes to your auxiliary tank and stores as fat. The powers that be have discovered that you gain energy when you sleep. Matter of fact, the best way to get energy is to sleep, right? Because food source of energy, meaning consume a plant-based or chemical-based food, take it in, your body has to break that food down. So your body is using energy in the process to break that food down to give you a little bit of boost, a little bit of energy. So the best source of gaining energy is rest, right? Because the most energy, the ultimate source of the power is coming from the rest. Understand that, right? And the devil figured this out. He knows that concrete drains the energy, right? Because there are negative charges which are vibrating slower, right? In concrete, and they are made to drain the positive energy. Concrete is made to drain the energy, which is why in prison they make the beds out of concrete, right? So they're messing with your mind in all type of ways in prison, overstanding that the body is a battery. So when them brains wake up, they want them to be drained. They want them to be drained so they don't have no energy to do nothing, right? The gravity, I don't know why beans go to prison and get out swole, because of the gravity is a lot heavier than there than it is out in the public, right? With all the negative energy going around, right? With all the negative energy coming from the ground. It's all concrete and steel, right? And iron, right? And it's negative minds and the negative energy. So the gravity is a lot heavier than there. So that's why them brothers come out of there all buffed up and swole. They walking around with the gravity a little bit heavy. So as you sleep, you're recharging your battery, which is why sleeping on the ground, right? Sleeping on the ground sometimes outside, right? Recharges you and heals you, drains sickness from your body. Walking on the ground barefooted, right? Because the ground, right? Because you gotta understand what you are. The human vessel is a molecule, right? That must be stabilized. Molecule must be stabilized or they will begin to decay, which is why you're dying here so fast now, because you are unstable molecules. Unstable molecules decay, right? And they decrease and go back to what they once were. So if helium begins to decay, it will decay down to hydrogen, right? But in the midst of it, the transformation, the energy is released. And this energy can be captured and harnessed and utilized. So there's technology using the process of decaying elements and capturing the energy in the process of the transfer. A lot of this information is real deep, but a lot of you who are oh so nice, right, will understand this information. But we're not trying to be deep. We're not trying to be deep. We're trying to bring this information to you as dumb it down as possible so you can get it. But now we're in a mental stage. And the elect, right? This information is for the elect, right? Now that you understand that stress is a form of energy which carries a negative charge. And like we told you, all energy, all form of energies can be converted to either or, right? And stress is a form of energy called emotion, energy which travels in motion, right? Understand that stress carries a negative charge. And if you don't know how to convert this negative charge into a positive charge, then it will drain your energy, right? The negative charge will drain your energy. So, how do you convert negative charges into positive charges? How do you convert stress into another form of energy that will be useful for you right now in this day and time? Understand that through stress promotes growth, right? Stress is supposed to grow you, because as you plant the seed in the ground and it busts its way up out the ground, is it under stress coming up out the ground, pushing this dirt out the way? As it grows up to become that which it is, there are other energies in the same line of stress called motivation, which carries a positive charge, right? Which gives you the motor to be able to move. Motivation is easily converted into kinetic energy, right? Motivation is converted into kinetic energy. Love is a form of energy that can be converted into kinetic energy, right? Because you would move for somebody you really love, right? If they need you to do something, you will do it. You will use kinetic energy. You convert that love into kinetic energy, right? In order to master what they're calling the spiritual realm, you must master these things. Understanding that these are forms of energy and they can be converted. There are some people who are listening now that your friends call you every time they got a problem or got something going on, they call you to get advice. Right? What they're doing is they're giving you their negative energy and they expect for you to convert it into positive by telling them something that counteract the negative that's going on in their life, right? Love, true love, can be converted into food. When people are deeply in love with someone and they hurt them and they get hurt real bad, they can go days, even weeks without eating, right? Because they're so hurt. Right? The energy, they're converting the energy, right? That energy, they're converting that love, that hurt into a food source, which then burns out of their auxiliary tank, right? And you see them, they lose weight, right? Love can be made to make you lose weight, right? Because love is a form of energy that can be converted into kinetic energy. Kinetic energy can be converted into gravity energy because you can lift things. Divine love can be used to tap into the 0 point energy. Because one day a tree fell on this one, a big huge tree fell on this kid's legs. And the mother loved her child so much she couldn't wait till the ambulance got there. She gathered up enough energy by transferring that love into gravity energy or kinetic energy and lifted that tree off her kid, right? And when the firemen got there, it took like 10 of them just to move the tree. And this one little bitty woman picked this tree up and moved it off her kid, right? Because that love she had, that power, that love energy was converted into kinetic energy to make her move that tree. You see what I'm saying? So, potential energy, right? And potential energy is the key, right? Because everybody can generate potential energy because you all plugged into the all. You are all plugged into the source. You see what I'm saying? So we just want to bring these things to you, you know what I'm saying? So you can get an idea of what's going on here and which way we're going with these classes. We're probably going to do about nine tapes on this class to bring everything to you. To open your mind up, to get you on and get you sped up on how our technology runs, overstanding these forms of energy. Because man has discovered nuclear power now. And now they have Navy ships which run off nuclear power and they don't have to be recharged for 25 years now. They don't have to use fuel for 25 years. They can ride around the ocean non-stop day and night for 25 years and never had to refuel. The Navy ships now. So man is beginning to evolve. Man is beginning to move out of type 0 and go into type 1, right? And now they're being introduced to the heavens, right? Only to bring them back down. You see what I'm saying? So we just want to bring these things to you and open your mind up. We're trying to get these tapes out fast as we can. So bear with us, right? This is the Young Elder signing out. We love you all. And we're going to win this war. Why? Because we can dance and they can't.